think the fitness industry has to take its own accountability and say, we own the right to bring our members into our club and make them fall in love with us. We own that right because they bought a membership with us. But with that right comes an obligation. We owe it to them in return to coach them, to help them, and to give them the support that they need. So that independence comes from goal setting, it comes from personalized programming, it comes from perfecting that programming. It comes from offering sustainable eating habits, not trying to be a dietitian or give people a full-on meal plan, but helping them make easy, simple changes they can adopt into their regular life, because we know that what you eat has a major bearing on how you look and feel.
Welcome back to the FBP Intensives, brought to you by ABC Financial. I'm your host Chantal, and we're in week 2 of this 4-part series. Now, if you missed week 1, then hit pause now. Head over to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com and in the search bar, type Retention Intensives and make sure you take a listen to show 1. Then come straight back here, press play, and you will be all caught up, ready to go. Our special guest for the Retention Intensives is Paul Brown. Paul is known for his groundbreaking work in member retention, exercise adherence, and membership growth. He's the creator of the face-to-face retention systems, which are the standard operating procedure for several of the world's most successful and prestigious health club groups, with many millions of success stories to date and growing rapidly. In week 1, we spoke about what matters most when it comes to retention, and this week we explore the topic of trends and traditions. Now, before we jump into this week's show, I want to remind you that there is lots of information covered off once again this week. So if you miss anything in the audio, don't forget you can always head over to the website at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Once again, search for Retention Intensives, and right there you can download a full transcription of each of the shows in the series. First things first, Paul, welcome back to week 2 of our intensive series.
Thank you very much, Chantal. It's an absolute delight to be here.
Now, you've been involved in the fitness industry since you were 16. I believe that you were working as a high school student, working nights at the local leisure centre. You must have seen a lot of changes over the last 36 years.
Yeah, like many of my peers in the fitness industry who study the fitness world, we've seen things come and go, and it feels like we've come full circle. Post-war, there was the big boom of calisthenics and group training with single coaches. Then in the 50s and 60s, they started to introduce weight training, barbells, kettlebells, the like. And then you had the bodybuilding boom in the 70s. Now, if you study the 70s, you realize that's probably the first era when we saw some real coaching going on one-on-one. And that was really buddy training buddy. You went to the gym, you trained with your mate, they showed you how to train. And really, if you didn't know what to do, you'd walk to the gym and you'd find the biggest guy or girl you could see and ask them what they were doing and why. And that was effectively your means of learning. Now, in the 80s, we started to see fitness qualifications come along. And so the advent of assessments and programming. And with that, the big box gym. So, more equipment, more classes. And there was a real buzz about the gym industry in the 80s. I think, quite frankly, back then, the biggest retention tool, if you wanted the guys to stay in the gym, you just attracted the girls. It was simple as that. Now, in the 90s, we became a lot more technical. There was a lot more effort on making exercise safe. The word contraindication was a real buzzword at the time. And again, we saw fitness assessing and programming as the main means of onboarding our members. But the interesting trend when you look back over all those years, a lot of clubs went out of their way to understand the starting point of their members. Very few ever went back and evaluated the client's results. I think that's been a very interesting trend of the fitness industry. When you see in more recent years the big boxes have come under stress, they're being challenged by the micro gym boom. These are the small, convenient locations, and everyone's talking about it. But the real question is, who's retaining their clients? If the big boxes couldn't keep people engaged, and now you've got these smaller environments with the more convenience factor going on, is that helping? And the interesting answer is not necessarily so.
Paul, that is such an interesting snapshot, and it certainly seems like we've come full circle. So in your experience, how many innovations have you actually seen directly aimed at bolstering member retention?
Well, certainly there's been a lot of developments in equipment in our clubs. If you look back again at the changes in the modifications of design and biomechanics, but it still seems the basics are always the ones most popular. The stuff that survived have been your treadmills that basically go fast, slow, and up and down, your elliptical and cross trainers you can make harder or easier, your basic bikes seem to be the most popular, and again, going back to classes, your fundamental group classes, as long as they're energetic and there's plenty of variety. But we've seen lots of formats come and go, and that's really to cater for the human need for change and for diversity. And then you also look at the fact that fitness has had a lot of entertainment come in. When cardio equipment came along, it was a great innovation and gave people a chance to get fit outside of group exercise times, more on a one-on-one basis. But unfortunately, not that exciting for a lot of people. We've seen entertainment formats coming in, such as on-screen TVs and the like. I think that's really been a big booster. But again, it comes back to people wanting to get on the equipment and use it in the first place, that being the challenge. We've seen communication methods, things like email and SMSing out communication, trying to inform people, educate, inspire, and hold them accountable. They've all had some benefit, but again, it comes back to the client needing to have an interest in actually doing the fitness. And now, of course, in modern days, you've got the technology trend. We've seen some wonderful advancements in the apps and the wearables coming on board, giving us great feedback, goal setting, and even holding people accountable. But once again, we ask the question, who's using it? It tends to be the people already addicted to fitness that find these the most interesting. Our bigger challenge is getting the larger percentage of the population who aren't addicted to fitness, who don't see health and exercise as a way of life. They're the ones who probably don't care to chase after these trends or aren't interested in learning how they work because they haven't really got the whole concept of they need to move more often.
Paul, I think this is really interesting because of everything that you've just gone through and, despite all of those great innovations and changes, I feel like there still seems to be a revolving door of new members coming in and current members leaving. So in your experience, in your opinion, what's actually missing? What can our listeners do about that revolving door?
Well, let me break that down into the different components of a club. I taught group exercise for 25 years, and I can tell you that the bane of my existence was what I call the back row syndrome. These are the people who sneak in and out of classes. They're a little bit nervous. They don't necessarily know what to expect to do in the class, and they don't always get a chance to talk to the group instructor. Now, we've got some fantastic organisations out there that design pre-choreographed classes, keep the energy there and have some controls and some consistency. But just getting the right people in the right class and making sure the instructor knows they're there, that's a real big challenge that I think fitness clubs need to take more seriously. And then the second problem with classes is having an entry-level format. As a club owner, I would often look at the numbers of attendees in a class and I would judge the success of that class based on the numbers. But I realized looking back, that wasn't always correct. Nobody stays at a beginner level for long, but everybody has to start there. So if you put on a beginner class, and I'll just use that word as a description, not necessarily the class name, but if you put on a beginner class, expect the people to only stay in there for several weeks before they develop the concept of being fit enough, strong enough, and most importantly, confident and competent enough to move up to the next level. So really, it's a temporary place of workout for these people, but there's always going to be a need, as I say, for first gear. Everybody drives their car in first gear occasionally, but never as much as they drive in third or top gear. So we go back to entry-level classes. I would put a challenge out there to club operators. Do you have on your timetable an opportunity for non-fitness members to come in, learn, experience, and master that format at an entry level, and then evolve upwards? And if you don't have enough of those on your timetable, that might be why the more popular classes that you think should be full are struggling to maintain their numbers. The second thing I'd like to challenge clubs to think about is on the gym floor itself. The ultimate measure of success on a gym floor is, are the members capable of training independently? That is, they know what they're doing, they know why they're doing it, they know how to do it, and they believe they must. At the moment, I see a massive gap in the fitness industry where if you buy personal training, absolutely you're going to get help and you're going to get support from that one-on-one experience. But outside of that, there seems to be a major gap in clubs. Now, this is an area that I've worked in for the last 20 years, and we've had tremendous success. But our approach is by no means mainstream. We're definitely a maverick in this field, and I don't think it should be so. I think the fitness industry has to take its own accountability and say, we own the right to bring our members into our club and make them fall in love with us. We own that right because they bought a membership with us. But with that right comes an obligation. We owe it to them in return to coach them, to help them, and to give them the support that they need. So that independence comes from goal setting, it comes from personalized programming, it comes from perfecting that programming. It comes from offering sustainable eating habits, not trying to be a dietitian or give people a full-on meal plan, but helping them make easy, simple changes they can adopt into their regular lives, because we know that what you eat has a major bearing on how you look and feel. We also owe it to our clients to check their results. Those assessments and programs back in the 80s, 90s, and even now, how often do the clubs go out of their way to reevaluate those clients? The honest answer is not often. I'm sure our listeners out there right now signed up a ton of members in January this year and did a ton of fitness appraisals of some sort. How many of those members have since had those same measurements or benchmarks checked and demonstrated to the client what their before and after results are? If the clubs can't talk about double digits, that's very embarrassing, and I'm pretty confident that's a very common problem. Then we look at other areas of the club like aquatics. I actually feel that the aquatics world have actually got a real head start on the gym industry. If you look at the learn to swim model, you look at the progression model, you look at the ratios of instructor to pupils, the learn to swim domain is a very successful one. What they run into is the problem of black line fever, lack of variety. What we've got to look at in our aquatics programs is making sure that there's a reason for kids and teenagers to become adults who still enjoy the swimming. Don't burn them out at that teenage. We see it so often. We get them into that 12, 13, 14 year and that black line fever kicks in. Of course, other distractions come along as well. We know that. But if we can find a way to make those who like swimming in their younger years continue to like swimming or aquatic activities in their older years, then our pools will also be more profitable and successful. And then finally, we've got to look outside the box. We've got to look at making sure that there's a community connection. I believe health and fitness clubs have a real problem with respect into community. We've failed as an industry to get people to talk about us with the same respect and the same endearment that they might do health practitioners and allied professionals. I believe we deserve that respect. I just feel we failed to communicate what we do well and failed to publicly broadcast the success and the lifestyle changes that we can achieve. We make a massive difference to a massive proportion of the population, but we're the best kept secret. All they think we are is tight tank tops, flex biceps, and cute buns. There's some of the visible benefits of an active lifestyle, but we all know the best thing about working out regularly is not how great you look, it's how great you feel. The clubs that I work with, we go out of our way to benchmark the mindset improvements and the emotional improvements in our clients. We benchmark at the beginning, we benchmark within 4 to 6 weeks, we do it periodically. We update their programs regularly, we help them eat healthier, we prove to them that their lifestyle is worth the effort, and we do so in about 1% of their week. I challenge all the clubs out there to broadcast what we can do to the community and then deliver on that promise.
Okay, so thinking about those 4 areas that you've just covered, tell us, what is the answer? What do we need to be doing?
You know, one of my great sales mentors, Zig Ziglar, once told me, if you want to sell anything to anybody, you simply have to do 3 things. Find out what it is they want, why they want it, and then give it to them. We know that our experienced fitness people want a close, convenient, well-equipped club where they feel they belong. And I feel that the fitness industry, by and large, does a pretty good job of that. But ask the people who aren't coming in what they want and why they want it, and are we giving it to them? Listen very carefully to their answers. I believe if we have a much more nurturing environment, they'll care less about how many treadmills you've got, how heavy your weights are, or how often your classes run. What they want to know for them individually is, will you take me from where I am now to where I want to be? And I know that's possible if I hire a personal trainer. Let's agree that the personal training industry is geared up for this, but then let's look at the penetration rates of that particular offering. The numbers suggest the market in general repels that offer. It's either time restrictive and or price restrictive. I'm not judging whether those 2 things are value representative or not. It's just the fact of the marketplace. Why aren't there so many limousines on the road at the airports? Because people would rather take a bus or a taxi or drive themselves. So we have to offer a product that meets the mass market, the millions, the hundreds of millions of people out there on the couch. Let's go back to finding out what they want, why they want it, and then prove we can give it to them. I believe our formula does that, and I challenge the rest of the fitness industry to look very closely. What is your goal-setting parameters? What is your benchmarking parameters? Are your programming parameters achievable? Are you writing routines on the gym floor that can fit into their busy lives, they can physically cope and understand with, and that's going to create the adaptation they're looking for so they can feel and be who they want to be? And then let's set realistic goals and stop suggesting for a moment that the only success will be measured by the perfect body shape. So again, go back to what do they want? Why do they want it? And here's a strategy, a visible, physical, tangible strategy, working you step by step to get through that. The first thing I'd like to do in our next episode is focus on the programming stages. And I'll divide those programming stages up into what you do for your mainstream members, for the clubs who consider membership revenue as their primary source of revenue, and then for the clubs that have a high focus on secondary programs such as personal training, boot camps and the like, then how we can also involve some of the key principal strategies of retaining those clients. Because I do believe that the clients enrolled in a program with a coach or in a PT environment, they are definitely getting some of the engagement benefits, but I still think there's some missing links that those trainers and coaches could tap into to increase the longevity and the enjoyment factor of all their clients. And this might also boost some of the other benefits such as referrals and sales, because once you're successful with these clients, then getting your next sale is going to be so much easier.
Well, Paul, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today, talking to us about trends and traditions. It has been absolutely fascinating, and we look forward to you joining us next time.
Thank you very much, Chantal.
Thanks to our podcast partners, ABC Financial, you can download a full transcription of the show. Just head to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com and in the search bar, type retention intensives. ABC Financial leads the health and fitness industry in software and payment processing solutions. If you want your business to thrive with the most advanced club management software, comprehensive payment processing, and customer service that is second to none, choose ABC Financial. You can request a demo at www.abcfinancial.com. Thank you for joining us for our second episode. Make sure you join us next week when we discuss retention in optional programs. That show will also be available to download from iTunes, and you can find it at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. I'm going to leave you today with a reminder of what Paul Brown said. He said, ask the people who aren't coming in what it is they want, why they want it, and then we need to prove that we can give it to them. I'm Chantal, and you've been listening to the FBP Intensive Series.